Alexander Hale survives a hostage mission in Belarus, only to discover 3 years later that his brain is hacked by Cassandra RU-258. As a double agent, he navigates orphanage manipulations, fake dates with Michelle, deadly missions in Paris, and deadly confrontations with Henry Schiff. Betrayals unfold at every turn. His ex-fiancée, his mentor, even allies, until he decide whether to follow the system that's controlled his life or dismantle it from within.
The season opens in the chaos of Belarus, with Alexander Hale perched on Overwatch during a hostage rescue gone wrong. As his team evacuates, he receives a final, chilling order. There's only one seat left on the extraction helicopter, and he must prioritize saving an American if multiple hostages are found. In the woods, a terrified Belarusian boy freezes before him, but then a desperate American woman bursts from the trees, begging him to take her instead. The moment cuts away, but later it's revealed Alexander chose the boy, telling the woman help was coming. That choice haunts him. 3 years later, Alexander is an analyst downstairs at the orphanage, a clandestine agency overseeing U.S. intelligence operations. He longs for promotion to the upstairs mission control team. As a first-generation Chinese American, he feels immense pressure to prove his loyalty to his parents. Behind closed doors, he suffers panic attacks and migraines, relieved only in signal-free zones like a subway dead spot or a secure briefing room called the cage. Anti-anxiety pills from his ex-fiancée Rachel are his quiet lifeline, but they come with tension. At a bar, he meets Michelle, a sympathetic bartender, and confides in her. A shocking realization strikes. She is the American woman he left behind in Belarus. The tension escalates when 3 North Korean assets are killed, pointing to a mole. Alexander becomes the prime suspect, the only analyst linked to all 3 cases. Fear takes over. A signals analyst warns him to assume he's under investigation. Victor, his retired mentor, warns him outright his life is in danger. Convinced he's being framed, Alexander prepares a go box with money and a gun, informing his parents he'll be away. Then everything flips. The mole is found, a compromised North Korean asset, and Alexander is unexpectedly promoted upstairs to the high-priority Claymore project. Trust arrives too fast, too convenient. With new access, Alexander digs through classified files, uncovering the truth. The Bellarus mission was a Copenhagen Test, a manufactured loyalty trial. Then he discovers Cassandra RU-258, a biohacking surveillance program. Symptoms match his migraines and sensory disruptions. His brain has been hacked. His eyes and ears are live feeds to an unknown enemy. The unwitting mole is him. In the cage, the signal-proof briefing room, Marlowe confirms the worst. Alexander streams classified intelligence. Director Peter Moira reveals Michelle is an operative, and the Copenhagen Test was real. He gives Alexander a grim choice: undergo surgery to remove the hack and end his career, or leave it and become a double agent, feeding controlled intel to the enemy. With only 30 minutes before his absence would raise suspicion, Alexander chooses to keep the hack and play the pawn. Alexander lies to Victor, claiming the situation is resolved, while unseen eyes watch through his perspective. The enemy sees every move, questioning whether the orphanage is aware of their hack. By pulling back the curtain on the orphanage's strategy, they discovered Alexander's brain hack a month before he did, finding a Chinese intelligence screenshot proving his eyes and ears were compromised. Predictive analyst Samantha Parker had warned such a breach was possible, but her theories were dismissed as too unconventional. Once the breach was confirmed, the agency's enigmatic leader, St. George, ordered Director Peter Moira to recruit Parker. She joined the top-secret Claymore mission, tasked with monitoring Alexander 24/7, predicting his every move, and scripting a controlled reality around him to deceive the enemy. To manage Alexander in the field, the team selected Michelle, real name Natalie, as his handler. A highly skilled operative, she would have to burn her cover to gain his trust. Only after recruiting her did they realize she was the same American woman from Alexander's Copenhagen Test in Belarus. Parker coached Michelle on every interaction, every word, every gesture. Back in the present, Alexander begins to test his new reality. Suspicious of the anti-anxiety pills Rachel gave him, he crushes one in a signal-dead subway zone, revealing metallic nanite residue. The pills are part of the hack. In a secure briefing, he shows Moira his findings, but downplays their severity. Moira pledges new medication and warns him not to contact Rachel. Parker predicts the enemy will attempt to verify the hack. She designs a trap, a first date between Alexander and Michelle at a bookstore with a signal-proof rare books basement. The goal is to lure enemy operatives, confirm the signal, and trace them back to their handler. The date unfolds with careful awkwardness. 3 operatives arrive, scanning Alexander to confirm the hack. When orphanage agent Remy accidentally collides with one, a fight erupts. Alexander refuses to flee, retreating instead to the basement, while Michelle engages the intruders. Together, they subdue the enemy. In a calculated moment of comfort afterward, Michelle praises Alexander for choosing the child over her in Bellarus, a scripted move by Parker to deepen his trust. The captured operatives turn out to be corrupt CIA officers working for the highest bidder. The female operative, Clarissa, identifies a handler she never saw, a man with a cane and perfect American accent. She is forced to send a message confirming Alexander's signal remains secure. Parker summarizes Alexander's core drive: to earn a place where he belongs. She shifts her focus to Michelle, to build a place where she belongs. On a chilling hint of the enemy mastermind, Cobb meets his uncle, MI6 agent Henry Schiff, walking with a cane, probing for information about compromised agents. The game is widening, and shadows are closing in.
With a flashback to St. George, head of the mysterious agency, digging a book from her garden, her wife, Kate, partially lucid despite dementia, confronts her. The unearthed book contains names, places, and dates. St. George writes Alexander Hale on a fresh page, marking him for reasons only she understands. The seed of his future ordeal is planted. Back in the present, the orphanage must let the enemy see real intelligence through Alexander's eyes to maintain cover. Director Moira sacrifices Project Poseidon and assigns Alexander to Cobb's team. Training scenes show him struggling with guns and fieldwork. Cobb begins quietly investigating Alexander, suspecting compromise but is warned off. Meanwhile, Michelle's scripted date on a train in a signal dead zone reveals her secret orders. She is to kill Alexander if he fails. Alexander is briefed on Poseidon: protect Slovakian politician Hugo Kovač as he returns for an election. The enemy observes every move through Alexander's brain hack. Guilt claws at him. To manipulate his sense of duty, Parker orchestrates a veterans parade encounter, giving him a greater good justification for risking lives. Cobb, suspicious, tries to alter Kovač's safehouse route, unknowingly feeding in to the orphanage's plan. Alexander volunteers for fieldwork, infiltrating a fundraiser, connecting with Kovač's financier Ilana Leximan, and cloning her phone to restore accurate route intel. The plan reaches its grim apex. The convoy, using the leaked route, arrives at the safe house. Kovač and his family are killed. Cobb blames himself, Alexander and Parker are consumed by guilt, and Moira pins the blame on rogue CIA operatives while sowing doubt in Cobb about Alexander's loyalty. Victor secretly seeks help from Henry Schiff, who refuses, revealing his shadowy role.
In the aftermath, Alexander and Michelle retreat to a church basement, a signal-free zone. Michelle admits she lied about reporting everything, promising only to report what Alexander allows. He confesses his guilt, but concludes the end justifies the means. St. George and Moira analyze the hack, deducing a sophisticated lone wolf enemy in southern or eastern Europe. St. George gives Parker a notebook to bury the things she can't carry, acknowledging her trauma. The scene shifts to Schiff, confirmed as orchestrating the hack, plotting to use someone close to Alexander as leverage, signaling the next phase of the high-stakes game.
5 years earlier, with Cobb's fall, he is forced out of a senator's office after being falsely accused of leaking documents. As his career collapses, Marlowe steps in. She knows he was framed and recruits him into the orphanage, turning disgrace into loyalty. In the present, 2 weeks after Klovach's assassination, the agency moves again. Parker, still shaken, designs a trap for the lone wolf hacker by creating a fake mole called Mosaic. Alexander is tasked with befriending Saul, a compromised CIA agent, and helping him believe he possesses a hard drive exposing a real orphanage traitor. The goal is to make the hacker desperate enough to surface. While the plan unfolds, Cobb revisits the Slovakia ambush. Studying the footage, he notices a chilling detail. The safe house schematic bears his own handwriting. Someone on his team leaked it. Despite warnings, he begins a quiet investigation. At the same time, orphanage leadership is warned that Alexander's brain hack is worsening. Previous subjects with similar symptoms died. Alexander is running out of time. Alexander gains Saul's trust as Saul tries to sell the fake drive. Meanwhile, Michelle's past resurfaces when an old Mark recognizes her at the bar. She tracks him down and kills him, protecting her cover at a steep personal cost. At a poker game, Alexander spots assassins closing in. Against orders, he goes back for Saul. Parker breaks protocol to guide them to safety. Saul panics, turns on Alexander, and in the struggle, Alexander kills him. During the fight, Alexander suffers violent seizures, confirming the hack is destroying him. Afterward, Alexander realizes Saul was never meant to survive. His death was designed to push the hacker into making a mistake. Moira denies the hack is fatal, lying outright. Cobb goes rogue, contacting his former senator to trigger a CIA investigation. Henry Schiff arrives at Saul's apartment, quietly hunting for the hard drive. At Michelle's apartment, Alexander notices a disturbed layer of dust. He pulls out a book and finds a script detailing every line Michelle has ever said to him, including their most intimate moments. He understands everything between them was engineered. Alexander leaves without confronting her. Nothing was real, and now he knows.
In Fairfax, 1989, Alexander's parents are caught in the fallout of an intelligence operation run by Victor. He smuggles them out, forges new identities, and secures their life in America. Pregnant and terrified, Alexander's mother makes Victor promise to protect her unborn child. Victor agrees, binding his life to Alexander's fate. In the present, Alexander slips into a no-signal zone and records a secret message for Victor. He confesses everything: the biohack, the surveillance, the lies. He still believes in the mission, but he no longer trusts the orphanage. From now on, he moves on his own terms. The orphanage uses Alexander as bait, staging a frantic hunt for the Mosaic hard drive to draw out the lone wolf hacker Schiff. Knowing the risk, Alexander breaks things off with Michelle, pushing her away to keep her safe. She retreats to her church safehouse, burned and shaken. During a secure briefing, Parker warns Moira that Alexander is becoming unpredictable. St. George speaks to him privately and keeps him on mission. The hard drive is in Paris. Alexander is sent to retrieve it. The Paris operation implodes. The extraction agent is killed and replaced by Schiff himself. At the same time, Cobb convinces the CIA that Alexander is a mole, triggering an interception. Alexander recognizes Schiff, drugs Remy, and tries to take Schiff alone. A three-way shootout erupts. Cobb spots his uncle on the feed and rushes in, nearly dying before Alexander saves him. Schiff escapes under fire. Alexander gives Cobb the hard drive for the orphanage, then vanishes, blocking his signal and tracking Schiff on his own. Back in the US, facial recognition finally identifies Schiff. St. George recognizes the name and quietly checks her secret book.
One entry stands out: Berlin, 1989. In a signal-dead kitchen beneath the city, Alexander finds Schiff calmly making tea. Schiff knows Alexander will not shoot. He's the only one with answers. Elsewhere, Parker convinces Michelle to stay, admitting Alexander's breakup was not scripted. Michelle later finds a hidden message from Alexander in her script book: "Get out clean before this gets worse."
In Berlin, 1989, a young East German man, Henry Schiff, waits in a hotel room for extraction to the United States. An American woman is meant to give him a key that will secure his escape. As the Berlin Wall falls and chaos erupts, the woman retrieves the key and leaves him behind. Eastern German police storm the room, burn his papers, and drag him away. That woman is St. George. The betrayal is complete, and it becomes the foundation of Schiff's revenge. In the present, Alexander confronts Schiff in the catacombs kitchen, gun drawn. Schiff delivers the truth Alexander has been fearing. Cassandra RU-258 cannot be removed. No subject has survived more than 6 months without death or total mental collapse. Then Schiff tightens the noose. His men are holding Alexander's parents hostage. Refusal means their deaths. With no way out, Alexander is forced to switch sides. Schiff makes his demand clear. He wants Alexander to lead him to St. George. He wants to look her in the eyes and kill her. Back at the orphanage, suspicion hardens around Alexander. Moira interrogates him about Michelle and the failed capture. Alexander lies cleanly, selling the breakup as personal and Schiff's escape as bad luck. Meanwhile, Marlowe digs into Schiff's history and uncovers the truth. He survived a Soviet prison, vanished repeatedly, then infiltrated the CIA under his grandmother's name. He has been hiding in plain sight for years. Cobb, shaken, admits to Marlowe that he unknowingly fed Schiff information. He hands over the Paris hard drive. The data is fake, but one word stands out: Cassandra. Convinced Alexander may have been flipped, the orphanage escalates. They bug his apartment for the first time. When Alexander returns home, Michelle is waiting. She taps Morse code on his shoulder, warning him the place is compromised. Later, Alexander speaks to his parents in Hakka, telling them he loves them. The orphanage hears it as a signal. They know he is communicating. Alexander meets Victor at his restaurant, one of the few places still clean. He begs Victor to arrange a meeting with St. George. Back home, staring into the maze to lead him to her. The orphanage hears the promise. They make their decision. With Hartman driving a knife into his abdomen. The fight is frantic and intimate, built on hesitation. Parents are hiding. Schiff's men close in, forcing a brutal chase through the streets. 11 months earlier, the truth enters Alexander's life disguised as care. Rachel Kasparian prescribes him anti-anxiety pills, fully aware they are laced with Cassandra RU-258. This was never a rogue act. She works within an organized network, one with rules, codes, and clearance. Alexander's body becomes the entry point long before he understands the game. 1 week earlier, Alexander meets St. George. She revisits the Copenhagen Test in Bellarus and dismantles the logic he has lived by. The choice was never meant to be binary. Save the child or save the woman was the frame, not the truth. St. George points out the option he never took: give up your own seat. The test measured creativity under pressure, not sacrifice alone. Back in the present, Alexander collapses in the street. Cobb finds him just in time and injects adrenaline, dragging him back from the edge. They race to Victor's restaurant, already under attack. Schiff's men have found his parents. Inside, Victor and Michelle are fighting to keep Preston and Helen alive, holding ground as bullets tear through the space. Then Alexander's long play comes into focus. His betrayal was calculated. During an earlier visit, he left a message for his parents, hidden in the restaurant's flower. When he knew his apartment was bugged, he spoke his plans out loud on purpose. When he used Hakka on the phone, it was a warning signal, not sentiment. Alexander turned constant surveillance into a weapon, feeding Schiff exactly what he wanted to hear. Samantha Parker recognizes the pattern and alerts the orphanage. The trap closes. Henry Schiff is captured, undone by his fixation on St. George and his need for revenge. The victory costs Alexander everything. He seizes again, harder than before. The orphanage stabilizes him, barely. Cassandra has progressed.
yet an upgraded version gives him a narrow chance to survive. A neural governor is implanted, controlled by a watch. He can shut off the feed from his eyes and ears, but he can never remove it. Control replaces freedom. The fallout ripples outward. Parker is promoted for choosing conscience over protocol. Her first decision erases Michelle's past, incinerating her file and giving her a clean exit and a new life. Schiff breaks in custody. He hands over everything he knows and finally meets the real St. George. She apologizes for Berlin. The apology lands quietly, heavy and unresolved. Then the truth fractures again. Schiff was never the architect. He discovered the hack and twisted it for revenge. Victor built it. Victor admits the Copenhagen Test was designed to place Alexander exactly where he needed to be. Rachel worked with him from the start. Cobb was never following Alexander the night they met. He was watching Victor. Victor leads Alexander into a hidden surveillance bunker. Screens flicker on, showing other lives being monitored across the world. Mumbai, a ferry at sea, a crowded street, a desert patrol, a family hike. Alexander is Asset 5. One screen lingers on Michelle. Victor calls her a loose end. Elsewhere, Parker and St. George arrive at the same conclusion. Schiff was only a layer, not the source. The season ends with Alexander fully awake to the truth. He knows what he is. He knows who did this to him. And he still chooses to go with Victor, because learning the system from the inside is the only way to survive it, and maybe the only way to destroy it.